The surge in popularity of plant-based diet is undeniable thanks to the increased concern for the environment and the animal welfare. But among this enthusiasm, skepticism has also emerged. The media often report the most tragic stories of people adhering to a vegan lifestyle, and also some medical professionals voice reservations regarding the exclusion of meat and animal products from the diet. But what does science actually say? Can one actually thrive without animal products? In this video, I summarize the most solid scientific evidence and give you 5 tips to empower you make the best decision for your health. Let's see what I found. But first of all, what do we mean with plant-based diet? Usually we use this term to define diet in which the majority of food intake, let's say about 80%, comes from plant products. Compared to the more classical definition between omnivores, pescatarian, vegetarian or vegan, the term plant-based includes more variety of dietary patterns because, for example, if your intake of meat and fish is restricted to less than one type per month, technically you would be defined as omnivore, but your diet, nutritionally speaking, is more similar to a vegetarian diet. So the discussion that follows actually can be extended to a wide variety of dietary patterns that we can see today. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which is arguably the most important scientific association in the world in the area of nutrition, states that well-balanced plant-based diets are healthy for everyone and at all life stages. This is based on hundreds, if not thousands, of scientific studies which clearly show that people who have a predominantly or completely plant-based diet are less at risk of developing several different diseases, including type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and cancer. These health benefits are probably due to the fact that a plant-based diet is characterized by a higher intake of fiber and a lower intake of saturated fat and cholesterol. And this leads to greater satiety that helps with weight management, but also a healthier gut microbiota, lower chronic inflammation, improved glucose metabolism and insulin sensitivity, as well as blood lipid levels and blood pressure. However, it is important to realize that plant-based does not necessarily mean healthy. All these great health benefits, as I said earlier, come at the condition that the diet is well balanced. And in fact, it's not that difficult to find people who have a predominantly or completely plant-based diet who don't meet the required intake of several key nutrients, such as vitamin B12, calcium, omega-3 fatty acids, and proteins. And this poses these people at a higher risk of developing osteoporosis and sarcopenia, age-related condition characterized by low bone mineral density in the case of osteoporosis and low muscle mass or muscle strength in case of sarcopenia. In addition, vitamin B12 deficiency leads to several symptoms, including in the nervous, reproductive, and cardiovascular systems. Another potential consequence that several studies have pointed out is that people who exclude meat from their diet might be more at risk of developing mental disorders such as depression and anxiety. However, the association is still not clear, as all the studies actually do not support a link between plant-based diet and mental health. But nonetheless, this is definitely an important area of research and something to look out for if you decide to go plant-based. So, do you have to go fully vegan or vegetarian in order to improve or maintain your good health? No, although most people would definitely benefit from a drastic reduction of meat and animal product intake. But if you would like to make your diet more plant-based, here are 5 tips to help you ensure you're getting the best out of it. So tip number 1, choose mostly whole food, and that's because vegan meat alternatives are usually higher in saturated fat and salt and lower in fiber content. Tip number 2 is to be careful to consume enough calories. Plant-based foods are more nutrient dense and less caloric, so the risk is that actually you're not eating enough to sustain your body. For this reason, it's perfectly normal that the volume of food that you're eating while going more plant-based will increase substantially. Tip number 3 is to have a good variety in your diet in order to get a sufficient amount of all necessary nutrients. As we said earlier, there are a few critical nutrients that should be looked out for in plant-based diet. And here is how you can get them. To get sufficient amount of protein and especially a good proportion of all essential amino acids, make sure to consume frequently beans and legumes, whole grains, and nuts and seeds. For calcium, the best sources are calcium fortified dairy alternatives, almonds, and green leafy vegetables. For omega-3, the best plant-based sources are walnuts and ground chia and flax seeds and their oils. It is important to consume them daily and to keep them cold, so use a coffee grinder and store them in the fridge. And finally, there are no good plant-based sources of vitamin B12, so the recommendation is to supplement this important vitamin. Tip number 4 is to start small, especially if you are not used to consume a lot of legumes and vegetables every day. The suggestion is to start with smaller portions frequently in order to give time to your gut microbiota to get used to the increased amount of fiber in your diet and then avoid unpleasant gut issues. And finally, tip number 5, if you're in doubt or for specific situation such as pregnancy, lactation, for infants and children or senior adults, the recommendation is to talk with a dietitian or a nutritionist in order to make sure that you know how to plan your diet well. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know if you have any question and whether you'd like to go a bit more plant-based this year. And if you need more help, you should watch this other video in which I give you some more practical tips to improve your diet. So thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.